television.
Good. How are you?
They are the sweetest group of kids. Thank you. They are so sweet.
We'll call this meeting to order. We'll have the invocation by Commissioner Max.
Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us, as always, satisfy the needs that need to be met during this meeting, strengthen us as we make tough decisions. Father, please guide us so that this meeting can be productive. Let us be effective and decisive. Amen.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Here.
Commissioner Thorne?
Here.
Commissioner Clark?
Here.
Commissioner Mack?
What do you think?
Commissioner Jordan?
Here.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Here.
Commissioner Skeen?
Here.
Do what?
About what?
Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? There a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Abstain.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
We'll start with this old business. PL 1670, Compo Church Design Review Variance. Request to allow a metal faucet facade on the western elevation of the church to account for a future expansion. The subject property is located on the west side of Mackinville, north of Dearworth Lane at 1835 Mackinville Road in Section 7, Township 3, Range 7. Mark Naylor, representing NCSG, representative for Compo Church. Mr. Cardoza, will you present to staff planners' report and comments?
Yes, sir. And real quick, just a point of bookkeeping, item 1673, Wade Incorporated's fence variance on West Commerce Street. They did send an email requesting to table, and so just if anyone's here for that application is going to be tabled. I just don't want to waste your time for the next few applications. So PL 1670, this is a carryover application from the October 11th meeting. The request is for a variance on the western facade of the building to allow metal veneer. The subject property is zoned R12, residential district, and church is an allowable use in this district. The proposed plat on this lot was approved January 18th, 2022. In the discussion portion of the staff report, as we mentioned at our training, the approval or denial criteria is listed, and so any motions tonight I would request that we reference that approval or denial criteria. The special conditions or circumstances that exist that are peculiar to this land structure or buildings that are not applicable to other land structures or buildings in the same district. The literal enforcement of the provisions of this standard would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties within the same district under the terms of the ordinance. Special conditions and circumstances don't result from the actions of the applicant and are not based upon economic considerations. And granting the variance request would not confer on the applicant any special privilege as otherwise denied by the ordinance to other land structures, buildings in the same district. The applicant did provide two additional renderings that I've attached in your staff report. One was when the slab was poured, and the second was about midway through framing to give you a point of reference of where the building is and where the exact facade they're requesting is located. We do have proposed motions to approve, deny, or table in your staff report. The applicant's available, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Cardoza? Will the applicant please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety?
Joseph Lemley, 1835 Mackinville Road. Good evening. Thank you guys for seeing us again this month. Just to kind of summarize what Austin said with what compels requesting, it's just for a variance request from the design ordinance, which states that no flat face cement block or metal surface shall be visible upon the exterior of any building. kind of read this last time, but Compel Church submits with the intent to temporarily move forward with metal siding in lieu of brick/ephes on west side walls. The photo that you see that attached was from this past Friday. Due to the large number of people attending Compel Church Hernando's services, the current approved building that is under construction does not hold the capacity to compete with the recent increase in size. As a result, Compel Church plans to renovate the building in the next 5 years to increase the size of the sanctuary to include more seats and then add classrooms to account for more kids. The plain metal siding would match the color of the approved ephes, which is burnished slate. The temporary metal siding will not be visible from McInvale or the Northern Dry Basin. Because of COVID and increased costs for construction, Compel Church places the assurances that the renovations and permanent facade is not completed in the next 5 years. All temporary walls will be replaced with its permanent matching brick/ephes. In addition to this was discussed last month when Compel finished the South Haven campus. They finished it with a metal siding that was conditionally, a conditional approval that they would finish it within the next 5 years. And today it's complete. They finished it in the timeline as promised. Compel Church has spent over $50,000 of money to help accommodate with the surrounding areas, from mowing to hauling trees off to adding landscaping. They care about people. With the decline of this variance request, Compel Church would encounter a $50,000 loss to later on demo and re-add the brick when they do the expansion. And that's all.
Any questions for Mr. Naylor?
I have something that came to mind as I was reading and realizing for you, Austin. Is there any reason, since this is a temporary change that they're requesting, and after, I know we learned in the training about the variance, the issues with the variance, is there any reason this couldn't be a conditional use? That way there's a time period placed on it, a mandatory time period? I know you discussed a time period a second ago.
Yeah, we talked about that last month.
Yeah,
Okay, and I'm sorry, I wasn't here last month.
Yeah, sorry, that's all right.
Yeah, it's tough just because the conditional use, this use is not listed in the use chart under conditional uses. And the second half would be the recourse of, would we bond it? What would be the effect of in 5 years if they don't, or if they move out and someone else moves in? So the variance was probably the best route just for what would we do if they didn't.
Well, and I'll tell you, my issue with the variance that I looked at, I think in the application you said, or you think you mentioned a minute ago, is financial considerations are part of it. And I think that one of the requirements to give a variance is that it's not based upon it.
Okay.
That's one of the criteria to get a variance.
Well, I mean, it's also, regardless of, speaking from the contractor side, regardless of the money issue, constructability-wise, it doesn't make sense to put a wall up and then tear it down in 2 years. So even without the financial purpose of it, speaking strictly constructability-wise, for me as a contractor, to come back in 3 years and just demo it for no reason, it's a waste of time and a delay to my schedule.
There's two things that come to mind. One, to back up Commissioner Jordan, just to review what we talked about last month. A variance is not necessarily to the owner of the property, goes to the land,
Right,
right?
that's right.
So that's the clarifying thing for me, that in the event something happens, that y'all vacate in the next 3 to 5 years, then the next owner is then accountable to that same variance, or does it get wiped out and start over?
It would be, this is for the life of the building. So the metal facade, I know he's explaining it's going to be temporary, and I have no reason to believe it's not going to be, but we think in worst-case scenarios of when this is approved, this is for the life of the building.
Right.
And then to follow up on Commissioner Jordan's point on economic, point number 3, that this does not result from the actions of the applicant and are not based upon economic considerations.
Right.
So the idea that cost of materials have gone up, the change of plans, that's kind of a moot point when we're dealing with this variance.
Right, but also the biggest point of why they're submitting for this is because they've got the biggest thing was the population, too many people, and they can't fit them in that building, so they're gonna have to do something.
So that begs the question, why not just build the building? Build the expansion?
I'm the general contractor, I can't speak for the owner side of things, but that is the sole reason. The point of bringing up the $50,000 loss is just a fact, speaking from the contractor side of getting that pricing and knowing what it's gonna cost. But, like I said, the biggest reason is the overpopulation that they've got, so.
And that's why I think we're struggling, because as a commission, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all chime in, but I have no doubt that you'll expand that building either. I have no doubt that's not going to happen, but that's not what we have to look at. We have to look at the ordinance, we have to look at the variance and the requirements. So our concern is what should happen if you don't expand, and that's where the conditional use, where we can't put a conditional use on it. So if it's a variance and something happens, then the city's stuck with a building with a false wall. That's kind of where we're looking at. And it has nothing to do with constructability, whether you're going to grow or not grow,
Right.
the cost of materials, all of that I know is important and they're big factors. But we have to look at the ordinance and how the variance applies to that right now. Did I make that? I feel like I'm talking in circles.
No,
It's like I have to
that's
say it
right.
twice.
No, yeah. And it's completely based on how we're instructed as commissioners to interpret and, basically stay in accordance with the law. That's where those decisions, the fact that it's not supposed to be based on economics. It's not just us, that's how we're instructed to perform and behave. So,
Behave yourself.
throwing that out there.
My name is Tony Boyd. I'm at 3826 Chandler Drive in South Haven, Mississippi. I'm the campus pastor at the Hernando campus that we're talking about. I wanted to address what you were asking about. Why not just build it out right now? That's a really good question. I got a really good answer. Our proposed amount when we were going into this project, which was a couple of years ago, was about $5 million, and it's gone up to about $7 million. And we can't come to the place where we can do that right now because it's already gone so much higher than what we were originally expecting.
And that's where we're struggling. That's the hardship that you're facing because of the inflation, because of the economic. But then Commissioner Skeen was just saying it's not the result of economic consideration. The variance can't be tied to an economic consideration,
I understand.
according to.
And I think this would probably be an easy no if you guys weren't a church and this wasn't a place of worship. That's what makes this hard, honestly.
Twice as hard.
But the attendance numbers of 550, that was when you were at the,
Previously, when we were at the PAC and
but that was
high
a couple,
school,
that was a couple years ago, right?
that's correct.
When
And
you
so
were planning to do the building?
at that point, yes, we were. And so, we had already purchased the property, we already had the property, but we hadn't really been able to start construction at that point. Then when we started, of course, we were at the Gale Center is where we've been meeting for the past 8 months. And then we just got back into the PAC and high school, and we're experiencing growth, and I know it's gonna continue.
Other questions for Mr. Lemley?
And I know you know this, but we wanted to be very considerate about this facing the western wall. So no one can see this. It's facing the trees in the back. It's not visible from the road or even from the side.
Is anybody else for or against this item? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Ryan Kilgore, 965 Cedar Grove Parkway. So I'm a resident in Lexus Cedar Grove, and I look out of my backyard and see the church property. Won't specifically see the west wall, but a couple points to bring up here. I think we've kind of touched on them some. The previous meeting was stated that they were, capacity at the time was 550 people. However, they've only planned in phase one to accommodate about 370 people. I think those numbers are correct from the last time. So in the beginning, they've already poorly planned for what they had versus what they were going to be able to allow the first time. So I don't know that necessarily a poor planning on the size of the church would be a good reason to allow a variance for this. Second, during the last meeting, it was mentioned that this was needed for expansion purposes onto the building, and not allowing a meadow would require them to build a second building. Again, from my construction background, you can actually remove any kind of exterior surface as long as that wall is designed as expandable. So not putting a metal wall on there does not keep them from expanding off of their current existing building. But there would be a loss of material, obviously. Second, or next point, I think the church always knew that they were wanting to expand. But they chose to submit the plans with the ephes and brick because they knew that's how it would be passed. And they assumed it would be easier to get a variance for this. They could show some kind of reason or reasons to be able to get a variance for this. Again, I don't know that that's necessarily the way that we should be thinking about this. Think about this on the front end. We've touched on this too. The variance is being requested for a proposed future expansion. There's nothing that limits this from, nothing says that we can come back in 5 years or 3 years or whatever the time period is and say, look, you've got to do this. It's their word that they are going to expand or put this material up there. Also, another point, within our subdivision, we're under an HOA. I have to go through strict approvals through the HOA to get approval for things to be put up in the subdivision. This is obviously a residential zone. I'm not certain of all those parameters or requirements. But again, if I'm not allowed to do that to my property without my HOA approval, I would hope that you would consider the same for this other building that's going in the same area. Thank you.
Good point.
Patrick Conrad, 3173 Nesbitt Road. I'm the pastor of the church, and I just want to address some things that were talked about last time, some of the things were just mentioned. One is, I don't think Mr. Kilgore understands planning for churches, especially during COVID. This is not poor planning. This is wise, efficient planning. Our philosophy of ministry is we basically create the size of a campus that we currently have in a temporary facility so that we can go to multiple services. It's an efficient model that cuts down on cost and allows us to maximize the use of a building. Since it is primarily only used on the weekends, we want to maximize its use so we can and are prepared through our leadership development to have several services rather than just one in one large footprint. Our design was never to plan something and then come and ask for a variance. So I don't know where the assumption is on that. The variance came as the cost during COVID and construction increased to cause our building to go from $4.2 million to $6.7 million, as well as the number of things that we've done to accommodate the city, to accommodate our neighbors. The cost went up. And so we're asking for and I realize that a variance can't be temporary. That's not really anything I can control, but I can control our precedent that we have set. At our South Haven campus, which again was brought up last time, falsely reported that we did not do what we said. We actually did exactly what we're asking here. We asked for a variance from the city of South Haven to put up a metal building on the back, or metal across the back, which we did. ephes and brick skirting were all around the other sides. And within 5 years, we expanded out both sides. And if you go by there today, which I hope that this committee actually went to the property and checked on whatever it was you wanted to table it for last time, because you would see that we have ephes and skirting all the way around. Not only that, but last time there was an argument brought up about sound, that the metal on the back would reverberate into the community from the school, which is sort of I don't know how else to say, a silly argument, because I don't know what noises come from schools that affect neighborhoods other than noises that we can't stop, like the band practicing on Mackingvale or Friday night football. I can't stop that sound, nor will a metal across the back of our building affect them. In fact, I've got a drawing, so just to let you know, the back of our building where the metal will be is behind all these houses. So sound cannot travel and hit the aluminum and then go around and hit their houses in any way. It has to go back toward the back of the property where the ball fields are, the middle school. So I didn't want to, upon council, go tit for tat and just get into this kind of stuff. So last time we didn't, but this time I feel like you need to know the truth because the group that has spoken against has been speaking against us since we tore down the trees on our property from the very beginning. And so, you know, they're going to complain, no matter what you judge, they're going to complain about something else next week that we do. So I am going to tell you, I will produce receipts, facts. I'll show you the receipts for us mowing the lawn. I'll show you the timestamps for when we actually built South Haven, got the variance for the aluminum and expanded it and put up the EFS. We do what we say, and we will do that here. We're asking for this variance only because of the cost. And I realize you can't grant us a variance based on cost, and that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is just a variance based on the reason why people ask for variances. I mean, that's all it is. I'm just asking for a variance. You don't have to appeal to it based on our cost needs. That's not it. We're just telling you that's one of the reasons why we're asking. There's several other reasons. I think this is an efficient use of a building. We've done this 4 times across the county at other campuses that we have. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about it that maybe you didn't get a satisfactory answer from Joseph or Tony or whatever. But that's what we're asking for, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have from what the neighbors have said too.
How big is this wall?
The wall?
I've got this drawing, but I don't have a.
You want square footage?
How tall?
The length, well,
It's
no.
30 feet high.
North to south.
The length of the drive there, 40.
No, the building.
Oh, the total building square.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
what are we
no,
looking at?
the backside of the
Like
building.
linear footage.
The linear
of the
feet
yeah, it's
from
like-
corner to corner.
The red line.
Yeah, it's probably 50, 60 feet. Yes, each section, correct, yes, sir. But the total square footage is about 3,100 square feet.
3,100 square feet of
A facade,
aluminum.
a facade.
30 feet tall. There's trees left between. Are there any trees? Is there any tree structure
Which-
left between the middle school right there and where y'all are going to build?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
There's a tree line.
Whole
Tree line that's 30 feet tall that would mask this wall.
There's some trees that are larger than that.
You can barely see, I guess, the very top of where a person speaks at the top of the stadium. That's all you can really see from there. And it's going down a hill too. So when you're walking up to that west boundary, you're walking uphill to get to it.
Right.
So if you're
But
standing
then
on the
if it's
building, you
uphill,
walk
it's even
west.
higher than 30 feet.
So, well, I'm saying if you're standing on the slab and you walk west to get to the stadium, you're walking uphill. It's a downhill slope from that direction.
Right, so the building is lower than where the middle school is.
Correct.
Elevation of the middle
Yes,
school.
sir.
I'll tell you, I mean, my biggest issue is that legally, I mean, it doesn't seem to meet the criteria for a variance. That's my biggest issue. It seems to be a legal variance because it's economic based. That's not specifically a reason variance is not to be approved.
Doesn't make it legal. He's saying finance because we're the reason financially.
Vance Daly, we still open for the floor? Again, Vance Daly, I'm in Hernando, 140 East Commerce Street. Again, don't have a dog in the fight, and I haven't seen the application, but, so I get it, you're not trying to end around, but is there a reality that a variance could be given on a logistical, we're doing this in phases? I get it, they presented going, hey, we're going to do it in phases because of the economics. And
That's
again,
why I
haven't
suggested-
seen what's in writing, but is there a way to amend whatever's before you going, hey, phase 1 is this, we're going to do phase 2, so can we have a variance just because at this season, we're building phase 1 of the church, phase 2 is going to be an addition on that building?
That's why I
Again, I'm
suggest for
try-
conditional use.
I got you, and again, that's what I had to
That was
see what's in
that was the
writing.
difference of the application, and I'm not a contractor, but I think phases have to be completed. So that would have to be a completed wall before you can go to phase 2 and then build an addition.
Okay.
So,
Get a certificate of occupancy and
So maybe that did. I'm in favor of it for, just, again, I know these guys personally to lay that out there. I know them. I'm behind, I don't go to church there, but I know them, but, you know, for what it's worth.
Mr. Jordan, can you explain to me, and if you have time, I don't want to keep carrying it out, but why is it not, you said it's not legal, it doesn't meet the legal
Well,
criteria, was that?
A variance, an approval of a variance has to be because the special conditions or circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant, are not based upon economic considerations. Y'all come here and it's a straight line economic consideration.
No, that's not why we're doing it to be efficient with the use of the building, and we are going to grow. There's one or two things we can do, just to be honest with you. We could build a second phase, and that was the original plan. The problem with that now in this current economic conditions, that's not even wise. So expanding is a part of what we want to do here is just expand this building. How else will we do it if we don't ask for a variance?
You just said it's an economic consideration.
Well, I'm saying we could have done that. And look, I mean, the bottom line is we could tear down a permanent wall, like you're saying, and put up and not do this variance at all. And we could just put up EFS and brick. I got to stand before my congregation. Is that wise? Now, if I'm here and there's a variance that I could have to expand, there's going to be all sorts of reasons. One of is the population growth of our church. And when you open a church, I mean, we've seen this. We had 1,100 people on opening day in the PAC 2 years ago. Okay, when we open this building, it's going to be crawling. You know, we want to know that we can build a plant. It's more efficient to tear it down. So, you know, I mean, that's just what it is. Now, if you're saying that's a part, that makes it not legal based on that, I get it. I mean, but I don't, there's a million reasons.
It doesn't meet the legal criteria to approve a variance, is what I'm telling you.
So, and you can't do a conditional use either.
I mean, there are other materials. There is hardy board, which is acceptable. Why don't you do it out of hardy board?
That's fine.
And you don't even have to ask for a variance.
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 different things.
That's within the ordinance, Artie Board is?
Yeah.
There's other cheaper options.
And so there's 3 or 4 things that it's just the EFS and bricks, which all presenting the metal facade with variances for, but I don't know the financials behind that.
Well, and I apologize, I didn't understand that a financial condition was the premise for that, and so I apologize for that. But I'm just trying to be wise with our money in this current economic condition. So if there's other options, we'll look at other options.
There's party board and there's.
So everything can be EFS and brick skirting in the back. I could do wood for a temporary.
You can't do EFS anywhere that is accessible by foot or
It's
car.
8 feet high, it starts at the 8-foot marker.
Yeah,
Right,
I
but
mean,
I'm
so-
saying on the back we could.
But on the back you can do. I mean, hardy board is just accepted everywhere.
Okay. Well, we'll look at those options then.
There are some options that are cheaper probably than That's what I would recommend. Then you wouldn't even have to get any kind of variance. You just move forward with it.
Okay.
Mr. Kilgore, would that be more acceptable to you? Are y'all withdrawing it? I guess withdrawing the request?
Well, if we have other materials, that's fine. And we can use that, I think.
We need to get together on one
The question remains here, what do we do with this application? Do we deny it or table it again?
I think we deny it, right? I mean, there are definitely materials available.
Yeah.
I think we would need to deny it. I mean, we don't have to, but that
It'll
would
cost
be.
them another $50 application.
I mean, you can withdraw, I don't know.
It's totally just a formality. But they can, if you want to withdraw it and then resubmit it, the financials don't work out, and other materials.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. if that's the easiest way to do it. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that's fine. Thank you for your time. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
So just curious, with this, moving to a different material, is there another, do they have to, do they submit? Is there anything that has to be, color match, stuff like that? Or, just,
Staff will handle, they'll
The
submit
design
to
and
city
review.
staff and.
There's design standards that they'll go through at the staff level.
okay.
They're gonna have to comply with the current design standards, or if they decide that they can't do that or they don't want to, it's gonna be another variance.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
No, Mr. Cordova, we just,
The applicant's made a request to withdraw.
so the applicant's made a request to withdraw this item.
So will we table?
No, it's been withdrawn.
That's interesting.
All right, the next item is PL 1674. Mount Pleasant and PL 1668. Let me get that straight. The Dunn PUD final plat. Request for final plat approval of 3 lots on 1.53 acres. The subject properties are located on the south side of East Valley Street, east of Northview Street, and west of Northern Street in Section 13 and 18, Township 3 South, Range 7 and 8 West. Greg Smith with Mendrop Engineering Resources representing Mr. Butch Davis, owner of the property. Mr. Cardozo?
Yes, sir.
Give us the staff plan report and comments.
As you mentioned, Mr. Greg Smith and Mendrop Engineering is representing Butch Davis over the property for a final plat request for Deming Estates. You may remember several months ago, it was finally approved in an August planning commission meeting, but the property was rezoned to PUD to account for 2 future residential lots. We combined the remaining third lot, which is the Jenkins flooring business on Commerce Street. All 3 lots total about 1.53 acres. Lots 1 and 2 are roughly 8,000 square feet, and this square footage was derived from the planning commission's recommendation to do away with the small common open space in the back. The board did follow y'all's recommendation and believe that, so that's where that 8,000 roughly square foot lot each comes from. The remaining acreage is to be 2 remaining lots along Commerce to be combined into 1. Both lots have access to centralized water and sewer, and as you mentioned, the description on the south side of East Valley Street. The front and rear setbacks are 20 and side were 5, and this was important to note on the final plat because of the front setback to match the homes along East Valley Street. And with the PUD serving as the preliminary subdivision approval, this proposed plat does substantially conform to that preliminary submittal. If approved tonight, this application will go to the November 15th Board of Aldermen meeting for final approval. And the proposed motion includes all the standard conditions we'll need to include on this to include sidewalks along East Valley Street, along with the construction of the homes. The applicant, Mr. Greg Smith, is available tonight, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Cardozo? The applicant, please come forward, state your name and address.
Greg Smith, 2595 Country Club Road, Senatobia. Have nothing further to add unless you have questions.
Any questions for the applicant? All right. Anyone in support or against this item, please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety. All right, is there a motion to approve or deny this item?
Make a motion to grant final plat approval to Greg Smith of Mendrop Engineering Resources representing Mr. Butch Davis, owner of the property, for final plat approval for the Dunning Estates final plat, 3 lots on 1.53 acres located on the south side of East Valley Street, east of Northview Street, west of Northern Street, Section 13 and 18, Township 3 South, Range 7 and 8 West.
Is there a
Based-
second?
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Based on conditions 1 through 10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Motion to approve this item passed. Next item is PL 1675, First Baptist gravel parking lot request. Request for a variance to allow gravel parking lot. The subject property is located at 1645 Highway 51 South on the west side of Highway 51 north of Pleasant Hill in Section 25 Township. Oh, good.
We need to make a motion on that. Table.
All right. All right, so now what we're going to do, what Mr. Condosa mentioned earlier is that we're going to table item 1673, the variance for the material, fencing material with Wade Incorporated. So we just need a,
I make a motion to table till the December 8th meeting.
No,
PL
six.
1672.
Sorry.
December 5th.
all right?
I second it.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Max? Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
All right, motion passed to table this item. Now. Now, PL 1675. 1675. What a day. All right, 16.
You're just ready to get done with it.
Well, I mean, my goodness. All right. Get myself in order. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. PL 1674. Mount Pleasant and Riley subdivision request for final plat approval for 1 lot and 4.36 acres located on the west side of Mount Pleasant, south of Riley Street in Section 7, Township 3, Range 8. Bob Barber with Orion Planning and Design, representative of the owner. For those who will give us the staff comments and report.
Yes, sir. Before I get started, is there a representative here tonight? Okay, good deal. The request tonight is for final plat approval of 1 lot of 4.36 acres at the subject property you just described, the west side of Mount Pleasant Road, south of Riley Street. The parcel zoned R12 medium density residential. The lot size is in conformance with that zoning district. The proposed ultimate use for this lot is for a church. The setbacks in the surrounding zoning districts are listed in your staff report, primarily surrounded by R12 residential, but it is bordered on the west side by M1 light industrial. The future land use plan identifies this parcel as residential dependent, single-family, low use, and the proposed use of the property would be in conformance with that designation. I have referred this to the city engineer for comment on road improvements, and he's studying it, and he will be recommending a bond amount, if applicable, to the Board of Aldermen. You will notice an easement on the north side of the parcel, and this is to account for the existing driveway and the home on the property will be relocated to the northern boundary line. So that's the purpose of the easement on that northern side. And as I mentioned, the ultimate use of the property is proposed to be a church, but the request tonight is for a final plat approval, 1 lot on 4.36 acres. And we do have an applicant present tonight, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Cordoza? The applicant, please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety.
Sean Sipe, 1458 Horn Lake Road, Nesbit, representing Christ Covenant Church and the Mannings, 1068 Thousand Oaks.
I just have one question related to the ordinance. R12 is medium-density residential, which includes a church in that zone? Okay.
Yes,
Just
sir.
clarifying.
Question for the applicant? Anyone in support or against this item, please come forward, state your name and address in its entirety. All right, is there a motion to approve or deny this item?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen, the final plat requested by Mr. Bob Barber, subject conditions listed in the staff report. The subject property is located on the west side of Mount Pleasant, south of Riley Street, Section 7, Township 3, Range 8.
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
Motion to approve this item passed. Now, item PL 1675, First Baptist gravel parking lot request. Request for a variance to allow a gravel parking lot. The subject property is located at 1645 Highway 51 South on the west side of Highway 51, north of Pleasant Hill in Section 25, Township 2, Range 8, Land Ford representative. Mr. Cordoza, will you give us the plan and the staff's report and comments?
Yes, sir. PL 1675, this is a request for a gravel parking lot at 1645 Highway 51 South, which is First Baptist, and they're represented by Ms. Lynn Ford tonight. The current property zone AR, agricultural residential, and the setbacks are listed in your staff report. The site does have one additional gravel parking lot against the sports fields that does predate our zoning ordinance adoption to disallow the gravel parking, so there is a gravel parking on the lot currently. If you look at your staff report in the rear part of the building, it's a little bit hard to see on the print, but the black dots behind the building is where the request for the gravel parking is. There is a budding gravel parking, that's another legal non-conforming on the truck parking to the south of the site. And similar to the last application, I won't read them again for time's sake, but the same application, or excuse me, the same circumstances for discussion and approval or denial criteria apply to this as well, for this being a variance. Ms. Lynn Ford is here tonight, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Name and address.
Lynn Ford, you want the church address?
Or just your name and address.
My address is 1640 Star Landing West, Nesbit.
Any questions for Ms. Ford?
I guess,
Keep, the plans keep keeping the trees and doing the gravel.
Yes, absolutely. That's one reason why we want to do gravel. And actually, the drawing that I submitted when we did the application is probably going to be a little bit smaller because we do have a PDO and they want to save a little more of the grassy area for the kids to play.
you said smaller, it's probably gonna be a little smaller.
Little smaller. Mhm.
Is there a drive, I guess, that goes around?
There's an old drive that goes right up along the landscaping place. It's still got some patchy asphalt on it. We would pave that because it would be seen from the street.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so I understand what appears to be a dirt road that curves up behind that building there? that you'll
That's
pave
part of the
that?
old driveway also.
That you'll
That's
pave
part of the
that?
old driveway.
That will get paved, is that what you want to do?
The pavement will be on the south side, going right up along the landscape in place, and
Okay.
then the gravel parking lot behind the
And
building
then drop it into a
to the
gravel
west.
parking lot?
We're bordered on the west side by an AT&T easement, a pretty good sized one, that's all wooded. And Winningham subdivision is just on the other side of that. And the main reason for the gravel is to keep a permeable surface, so we don't dump a whole lot of drainage down onto Winningham with a paved parking lot.
Yeah, because you sit up at quite a high elevation up there.
We are very high, yes.
Same question.
Yeah. Their rooftops are almost level with where we'll put this.
Austin, would this be reviewed by, like, for drainage by city engineer?
Yeah, drainage was the biggest issue. Didn't want to dump a lot of water down on them. And we're a little bit higher than T&T's parking lot, just slightly go downhill to them on their gravel parking lot where they park their trailers.
Well, I don't have a problem with the variance, but that Commissioner Skeen just raised, my concern is, do we have any requirements for the engineer to go in and make sure it's the right grade? It is draining properly, we've got, everything's going in the right direction.
No problem with that at all.
And then,
will be required to submit for a grading permit, and we do refer all those to the city engineer.
gotcha, okay. So approving this variance, that is by default going to happen anyway? Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Okay, thank you.
Anyone in support against this item, please come forward and state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Katie Gunter, 3426 Cuxta Drive. I am a music teacher at the PDO at Nesbitt, and there is so many cars and so much parking that they need extra parking there between the soccer fields and with the PDO program. And then we have Veritas, which is a homeschool group that is also that comes to the church when we're on our PDO days. And so PDO teachers park in the gravel so the kids can have places to play. And then we have all the parents drop off in the parking lot, and there's just not much, flow to it. So we need some more parking to be able to get the kids in safe and everything. Not that they already are, just some more parking to help with all of our cars and needs. And then this is Malachi Roberts. He is a student at the PDO program, and he is for some extra parking. Come on.
Is there a motion to approve this item or deny this item?
I'll make a motion to approve a variance request by Lynn Ford, representing First Baptist, to allow gravel parking as regulated by the zoning ordinance. The subject property is located at 1645 Highway 51 South, on the west side of Highway 51, north of Pleasant Hill, in Section 25, Township 8, Range 8. Pursuant to conditions A, B, C.
Second.
Have a second?
Commissioner Thorne.
Commissioner Clark?
Nay.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
Motion to approve this item passed. The next item is PL 1676, AWG, parking striping request. Request for a variance to allow yellow striping. The subject property is located on the west side of Highway 51 at the end of Capic Drive in Section 36, Township 02, Range 8. Nick Krugen, Civil Links, representing the owner of the property. For those who give us the staff report and comment.
Yes, sir. Civil Link Engineering has got an alternate representative tonight, but is requesting requesting a variance for the AWG facility to allow yellow parking lot striping instead of the allowed reflective white as regulated by our design standards. It is located on west side Highway 51 at the end of Capic Drive. It's actually 36 Township 2, Range 8. It is A1 light industrial. Similar to the last application, the same approval or denial criteria I would recommend we consider for your discussion tonight. I did include a site map, the location map, and then on the, I guess about the fourth page, there's a map that shows where the public right-of-way ends versus the private internal drive. That did come up in a couple of questions from commissioners. And so the green area that you see on the map provided by Civil Link provides for the public right-of-way, and then the gated access for the private tractor-trailer drive and passenger vehicle drives are delineated in the red and the blue to give you an idea of where public right-of-way ends and then private drive begins. We did include some pictures as well of the site, of the striping that is constructed, and the striping is to include the color of the bollards requested to remain the bright yellow you see. Applicant did provide responses to the approval or denial criteria, and generally speaking, and I'll let him speak a little bit more on it, was about the freight truck parking and the safety associated with the yellow striping. As I mentioned, Civil Link does have a representative for AWG tonight, and I'm available if you have
Any questions for Mr. Cordoz?
Good evening. My name is Chase Dabbs. I live at 3624 Madison Ridge. The reason why we're requesting this variance tonight is because it's a safety issue regarding the concrete pavement they have out there and the proposed white stripe. You can't see it. It's not very, doesn't contrast well. So that's the reason for the variance request. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have.
So the striping's already done in yellow?
Yes, sir.
Oh, these pictures are from the actual location?
Yes, sir.
So I'm confused. We're asking for a variance after it's already been done?
Hey, we were a little late.
Well, that'd be a mess if we didn't get the variance, wouldn't it?
Hmm.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Anyone in support or against this item, please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety. Is there a motion pertaining to this item?
I'll make a motion to approve a zoning variance requested Nick Creenan, hope I said your name right, Civil Link representing the owner of the property for the variance to allow yellow parking lot striping as regulated by design standards ordinance. The subject property is located on the west side of Highway 51 at the end of Capic Drive in Section 36, Township 02, Range 8, for the following reasons: A, B, C, and D.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne?
Nay.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Nay.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye. Motion to approve this item pass. Next item is PL 1677, request to amend the conditional use to approve for, request to amend the conditional use approval for Watts Tattoo. The subject property is located on the north side of Monteith Avenue and east of McInville Road, more specifically 1547 Monteith Avenue in Section 17, Township 3, Range 7, Natasha Watts, Watts Empire Tattoos. Mr. Cardoza, give us the staff report and comments.
Yes, sir. This is PL 1677. This is a request to amend an approved conditional use to expand the hours of operation beyond the 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. current limitation. This was approved as a conditional use for the office district as a retail shop, sales, and service. And we had a lengthy discussion last time of how we got to the point of the determination of that. And the applicant, during the course of the meeting, did agree to amend their application to view by appointment only, the hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. No neon lights, and the proposed language for signage will not include the word tattoo. Tonight, Ms. Natasha Watts of Watts Empire Tattoo is requesting to amend that approval to eliminate the 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. condition on their approved use. Since this is a conditional use, it is a different set of approval or denial criteria. So any decision tonight, I would request we frame our decision off the next 5 criteria, which I'll read for the record. How this proposed use will not substantially increase traffic hazards or congestion. How this proposed use will not increase fire hazards. It will not adversely affect the character of the neighborhood or the general welfare of the city. Explain how the proposed use will not overtax public utilities or community facilities, and how this proposed use will conform to the recommendations of the general development plan. I included the verbiage from the last application when they submitted for the original conditional use. And with last time, the time limit, they're still within their approved time limit, so the only condition that request to be amended tonight is the 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. hours of operation elimination. And Ms. Watts is here tonight representing Watts Empire Tattoo, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Cardoza? Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety?
My name didn't make it on the page, I'm not sure, but anyway, Vance Daly here on behalf of Watch Studio. As it's known in Hernando, it was Watch Studio because we were here, I think, in August, and we didn't want the name tattoo on the sign, so they agreed. And so, what was done last time, a lot of suggestions figuring out how to approve this, right? And so one of the things was 10 to 8, and being there for August, September, and now a little bit of October, realizing the 8 o'clock time frame is difficult. And reality being, people get off work at 5, want to come and get a tattoo, make it there by 6 o'clock, and as we discussed last time, most tattoos aren't done in 2 hours. And so, again, coming back, again, them trying to stay above curve, trying to do things correctly, come back and getting approval, and just going, hey, can we get rid of the hours of operation? Again, I think there's a video, I don't know how this can be done or shown, just so y'all understand what we're looking at here and what is actually taking place. Is that... It's not a long video, but just so y'all can see. Oh, I thought you could do that from over there. I'm sorry. It didn't make it to the screen. Change it.
You got a tough angle, sorry.
I did not put that video together, so. Again, that was just for concept, so you see what it is. This is a studio inside a commercial building there on Monteith Street that have other businesses operating, okay? And again, the problem really truly being his business is hindered in the fact that Flea, who is in the room tonight, has to be closed by 8 and not wanting to violate things. And the reality is there's a lot of tattoos that won't get done in 2 hours if somebody is coming after work, getting there at 6 o'clock. And so we're here requesting that we get rid of the hours of operation. I get it, this was a conditional use, so it doesn't really, we're not comparing apples to apples with every other business up and down that strip. But, there are no other businesses' hours who are regulated up and down that strip. They can be open, they can do whatever they need to, whenever they need to. Now, again, different type of businesses, and none of them are, again, I don't know, maybe people are getting haircuts. There's a hair, not sure what the right thing is, a hair cutting place, a salon, thank you there. Maybe they're still cutting hair at 8 o'clock, I don't know. But again, point being, there's no other businesses regulated whose hours can only be open that way. They're free to conduct business however they need to. And so, again, getting into the criteria of what this does. This is not increasing traffic. This is not putting more substantial burdens on the fire hazards or those things. It's not taxing the facilities. It's not adversely affecting the neighborhood by staying open. Again, conditional use permits, the regulations that go into them have to be rationally related to the parameters set. As far as I know, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, I think most, if not all, outside Watts, businesses up and down that street are generally closed by 6. And so there's nobody even up and down that road, operating as a business outside, I'm guessing 6 o'clock. There's some other people in that building who are here tonight that will speak. There are times, that whole building is a real estate office. There are times real estate agents run up there after hours to go do stuff. But again, general operations, there's nobody else operating. And so keeping this place open and allowing him to continue to earn his living past 8 o'clock is not, it's not affecting anybody because there's nobody else up and down that road. But again, that 8 o'clock time frame where he's got to be shut down is seriously, it's hindering his income. And so getting into, and I think, and I don't know if Austin said that, but I think they were required to be closed on Saturday and Sundays as well. Wasn't that in there?
It was not in the original motion.
Oh, that was not in there. Okay, all right. So maybe that's not even an issue. They could be open Saturday and Sunday. But in any event, again, just getting into, it does meet the criteria for doing this because it doesn't, there is no adverse effect here. And it is, again, that those hours of operation are adversely affecting his business. And so, again, we're here, the video, just so that you see what's going on. There was a whole lot of discussion last time, and we can go through all that again if we need to. This isn't your standard, if you recall, this isn't your, what you think of tattoo, right? These aren't flashy lights, these aren't people wandering in. You saw the single chair studio that is appointment only. Like, you don't walk in and go, hey, give me a tattoo. It is you set up appointment and you come. So it is not increasing traffic. Now, hopefully more traffic will come. But again, it's not jointly. It's not increasing the general traffic. It just more may come after hours when nobody's even up and down that road. And so, again, the request just being to remove the required hours of operation so he can continue to do tattoos.
I don't think it's necessary to go through the whole, why is it there? We went through that conversation, we granted the approval, we gave the conditional use. We're here tonight to amend that conditional use and hours of operation. So the question on the table is, what's the proposed new hours? What would be the proposed new hours? Because it's still a conditional use, right? So we have to put that conditional use, a new conditional use. So what's the proposed new conditional use?
Well, the proposed conditional use is to get rid of the hours.
So that you can operate at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Well, he could, just like any other business up and down that road.
So is that the proposal then? The conditional use is to remove the hours to where they can operate the studio 24/7? Is that the way I understand it?
they're not going to be open for business 24/7. But again, we're
but
not
if we-
proposing to put a closing time on there because again, it may be one of
That's
those,
what, that's
somebody comes in at
what, that's what
6.
we're charged with doing, is if the amendment to the current conditional use is to remove the hours,
Yes.
and there's no proposed new hours, then it's assumed, I'm guessing, that the new hours would then be 24/7.
No, sir.
Because there's no condition on the hours at that point.
One, there's not a requirement for conditional use to have hours on it. I've done a lot of homework and done a whole lot of research in the past, and this board has fought hard against putting those hours, those conditional
Gotcha.
hours, because
Can you clarify that?
who regulates it?
I mean, honestly, that is part of the hard part enforcing this, but in the past, as long as we relate the hours of operation to be associated with one of the approval criteria, as if there were very close surrounding houses, which that may be consideration tonight, or you don't want transient traffic in this part of town, this hour, like.
So that would be the criteria that falls under one of these 5
As long as
criteria.
we don't arbitrarily just put hours of operation on, we directly related to one of the approval criteria, but if the board wishes, you can eliminate the criteria for hours of operation, let it just be on the applicant to decide that.
The same way the other businesses are there. And again, that's what we're getting into. The other businesses aren't open 24 hours a day. They're just not limited into what time they can open and close. And so, yes, meeting that criteria.
That's a fair statement. Yeah.
Sir? Okay.
That's a fair statement.
Do they plan on operating after midnight?
Not at all. Again, this is not we're trying to be open and we're trying to turn this into the very thing everybody feared. It's just still that what we don't want to do is somebody come in at 6 and want a 6-hour tattoo and go, no, I'm sorry,
Well,
you can't.
if I understand correctly, Ms. Watts explained to us that a session is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, a session is what, 3 to 4 hours? Because most people can't stand that. How many? So somebody can do 12 hours under the, look, a dude back there is like, I got a witness.
Wait. One second.
It's a 6-hour session.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to clarify,
One person at a
because we
time.
were, I know that was a point of discussion last time, how long are sessions and how many people and the traffic and that sort of thing.
Wait, could you come up, just come up and say your name
Absolutely.
and address?
My name's Jeff Watts. I've been known as Flea for over 30 years. I live at 465 Pear Cove in South Haven, Mississippi. All right. I'm 46 years old. I'm not staying up until 5 o'clock in the morning. I love my people, but I don't love them that much. I tell everybody I do horrible things in my pillow at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I just want to be able to, if I'm working, I don't want to be in the constraint of, it's 8 o'clock, I've got to get you out here. I don't want to get in trouble. Okay? There's only one person there. Sometimes they bring a friend, a wife, a husband, whatever with them. And that's all the traffic it is. We don't have more. The most people we've ever had there has been at our grand opening. When people are getting tattooed, the most I've ever had in there at one single time was 5 people. And it's usually, that was a whole day. That was a whole family, mother, 2 daughters, and a son, and I think one other person with them. That was the whole family. It was the whole day. And they stayed there all day. We, fed them and all that stuff. I don't want to work late, but I would like to have the option that if I run late or something happens, that it's not an issue. I'm not here trying to, work 20 hours a day because, like I said, I'm in my 40s. I can't do that. All the lights are on now, So I just want to be able to operate at a decent time, cut off when I need to, I don't want to stay till midnight, but I mean, if it happens.
So the main reason to remove the hours is simply if a person gets off at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever, you don't want to start and have to stop at 8.
Yeah.
You just want to just go on and keep your concept of what you got going and keep
Right,
it
because
rolling
if it is a
and close it
6-hour
out.
tattoo and I got to shut down at 2 hours, it's going to be an unfinished piece, and it looks unfinished. And I know that's going to sound wild to y'all, but it's an artistic thing, I guess, and it weighs on me. It's like if that piece is supposed to be done in 6 hours, I want to do it in 6 hours. I don't want them to have to come back and be like, well, we got 2 more hours, and you got to come back, and you got to come back with, a half-done
So
tattoo.
having to stop and start back changes kind of your flow, for lack of a better word, on what
Yes.
you're doing, and you got to, okay, now where was I, what was I?
Yes. And also, you gotta put in the fact that it's already healed some too, so some of the healed stuff might not be the same as the new stuff. So you have to go in and blend in more, which also takes more time.
And unfinished tattoo floating around looks bad.
Oh, it looks so bad, it looks so bad.
You have appointments that come in after work on a weeknight, like a weeknight 6-hour session?
Oh, yes, sir.
Do you really?
Yes, I have people that, they play hooky to come in. They're like, oh, got a cold, I'm gonna go to an appointment, and they sit with me all day and get tattooed.
You still plan on being appointment only?
I've been appointment only since 2 years in, and I'm 17 years into doing this. So I don't plan on changing that. I'll do walk-in consultations, but even that, they still call before, and we usually do most of that on the phone or Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that, to try to keep traffic down. Because we don't really and truly, you don't want a lot of people just rolling through because of cross-contamination and whatnot. So, you have your people come in, they do their thing, then they get out, everything's clean, new people come in.
How much business do you think you've lost because of this?
I don't think I've lost business, I've lost time, and it pushes me further out as far as my appointments go. I'm booking well into April at 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, and that is no breaks. If I had Saturdays, I would still be in April. If I had the extra 2 hours, it would help because I do have to break some, 6-hour sessions down to 4 hours, and they have to come back for another 2 to 4 hours or whatever. And it's hard on them too because they have to split their days up. They're like, well, I can come in on this day, but I can't come this day, and that pushes them further out. And it becomes an inconvenience on both ends.
Starting earlier is not gonna help any, because I think it doesn't start till 10.
Yeah.
Most businesses start earlier than that.
8 a.m. And to get motivated and moving, I wake up at 8, and it takes a couple hours to get to the point to where I can get focused and go. 10 a.m. is super early for a tattoo shop. Most of them don't open until 12, 1 o'clock most days. I like the mornings. I do like mornings. So, and honestly, the more time and the more freedom of time, it's really just us there. And like I said, y'all are more than welcome to come and see what it is. It's not what most people think. It's not neons and bright lights and questionable artwork and things like that on the walls. It's a home place. Most of these kids that are here today come and sit in our shop, and we have coloring books and things for them to do when they come with parents or something like that, because, I'm a grandfather. I know that sounds weird, but I'm a grandfather, and I'm a god-grandfather to some of these children here, and I'm a family guy. I just want to be able to work and make the money that I would like to do, without upsetting anybody, obviously.
Again, to reiterate, 5 criteria. There's not a requirement for there to be hours. And there's, admittedly looking from his perspective, but there's not a basis to require hours of operation to fit within the 5 criteria. Like, again, it's appointment only, it is single traffic, there's a church there, so on Wednesday nights, there's a massive flow of traffic there that comes and goes. So traffic flow, what mentioned something about whatever word you put on traffic flow. Like, this is a road that does get to a neighborhood, but there's businesses there, and if y'all have to know this, they're about to, they cleared off all the land right across the street. I can't remember what I was about to go up there. It's
I think it's a mini
storage. A mini storage, which presumptively, I could go to a mini storage at 2 o'clock in the morning and get my stuff out. Because there's no hours. Now, they'll be open generally from a time frame, but I have a mini storage somewhere else, rent one somewhere else. I can go up there whenever I want to, right? And so it's that same concept. The flow of traffic's not an issue. It's not, again, getting into the 5 criteria, as Austin said, you can't arbitrarily stick hours on there if it's not related to any of this. And again, looking from his perspective and advocating on their behalf, there's nothing in here that would require hours, governing hours of operation, that would therefore fit into these criteria. So again, we're just here asking for those people. So he can't do the very things he just said. It's not to be open till 2 in the morning. It's just not wanting to have to rush or stop in fear of violating the very thing we came here for permission for. So,
absolutely.
How much longer is the conditional use?
Well, I was trying to remember how.
9 to 10 months. Yeah.
If for some reason there were issues, anything like that, and they came back, and we did approve the conditional use again, could we put hours in at that point?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
It's when it expires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anything comes up during the expiration, and then you revisit a year to,
There's city park
Right down the
Closing time
street.
on the park.
I've had people call from the park to figure out where we were at.
Typically dusk is dark is when the park's closed, but that's actually, we've noticed there's not something in the city code that puts a time limit on it just because of the time.
no, I get it from a creative, my brain doesn't get rolling until about 10 in the morning, too.
Takes me a couple hours to get
So
moving.
you gotta
Ever since 40, man.
get in the
it's
flow.
Yeah.
But I get it, too. Once you get into that flow,
It's hard to step away from.
it's hard to break off.
And
And
like
then when
I
you
said-
break off, it's even harder because
And you gotta find that.
you gotta
spot.
rethink that flow where you were at that time because each customer is different.
Oh, yes.
I can relate to that. I know what you.
Yeah, I don't really agree I don't think it's fair to limit the use. Nobody else has to limit their time. It seems like an undue burden.
Like I said, I do not want to be open at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, guys. That's not gonna happen. Like, I just
No, I
want to
think-
be able to do what I need to do.
Sure.
And leave freely at a time that I don't upset anybody. 'Cause-
I think the conditional use, when we first did it, was just based on that type of business in that
Right.
neighborhood conditional use. So the hours was just sort of a tack.
It was a concession
It was a
to
tack,
corporate.
yeah, it was a tack on.
Yeah, we just wanted to get in and do our thing and show you that we're not like, some other places or some other people. We really are just trying to, do our jobs and make people happy. I mean, people have literally told us that it's therapy for them. Sometimes I don't understand it because even though I've got tattoos, they hurt, and I don't understand how people enjoy that part, but they do. They love it. It gets them through the day and they feel better. That's what they want. And I like to help people and do things for the community, and I want to make people happy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone in support or against this item, please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety.
Sarah Lyons, 1558 Monteith Avenue. We own the building, their neighbor, the replica building right across the little pathway where they are. And we're a medical office. We're on the second floor. We've been there since 2012, practicing in Hernando since '06. I just want to say that I don't see any reason to limit any hours. We have no limits on our hours of operation. We're there at 5 o'clock in the morning. We can be there to whatever hour at night that we want. We're there on the weekends. We didn't even know that they were opened when they were open. There is only ever maybe one car in the parking lot towards their end where their door is that people use. There is no change in flow of traffic. There's been no change. They too are appointment only. So it just doesn't make any sense to me to think that it would change anything if you are the only person that is giving the service and then extending their hours so that they can operate, during the times that they want. So as a neighbor with the medical office, I'm in full support of them having any hours that they want, including Saturday and Sunday, because it would disrupt nothing at all. And actually, there should be some type of, I'm not sure if their signage is going to change, but people can't see where their business is. So something that does help people find where they are, if there's a restriction on it right now, I think that it should be a little bit changed so that people aren't wandering all over. They come to our office to ask. So they should be allowed to advertise, to their limits, whatever they are.
Well,
so
that would be a
there's-
different application.
I'm just saying people can't find it right now, and they need the business. The people should be able to go to the place easily, just like we advertise ours. So I'm for it. I see no reason not to.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My name's Yvette Watley. I live at 1995 Magnolia Manor Drive, and I'm an insurance agent across from the hall from them. There has been not a peep from them. They probably hear my loud mouth in my office more than I hear them. Not kidding. If I know they're there, I look out the window. You don't know they're there. The traffic is very minimal. If I have to go in late at night and I know they're there, I feel safer. Because if I tell Flea, hey, I'm next door, they listen for me. And there's times I have to go there at 7, 8 o'clock at night. I don't understand why they can't be there on the weekends. They keep everything to minimal, their music. You can't hear or see anything. And they're very respectful. And I've known Flea for 12 years. And he's been this way the whole time I've known him. He wants to go in and work, and that's all he wants to do. He's not here to change Hernando. If anything, it'd be for the better, not for the worse. And that's just what I want you to know. But I do work in the office across and don't hear nothing. Like I said, they hear me more than I hear them. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Tim Putt, 415 Sandalwood Drive. I'm not here to speak about their building or anything. I'm here to talk about them as people. I witnessed this man being saved. I'm the chaplain at the church that they attend. I witnessed this man being saved. I witnessed his baptism. They wouldn't allow some of the things that you probably think in your mind that goes on at a tattoo parlor. They're down-to-earth people. They love people. When they come into church, they're hugging on everybody. I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe in them. Excuse me. They are great people, and they would be a great asset. They're probably already a great asset where they're at, but to extend their hours or their days, that would be phenomenal for this family. That's all I've got.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Hernandez. I live at 2532 Woodcutter Drive in South Haven. I had the privilege of running your Hernando UPS store for 4 years, and now I've moved up to South Haven. This store has a special place for me, which means Hernando has a special place for me. I have known Flea and Natasha, or Jeff and Natasha, for about 4 years now. When I tell you the integrity of the people that you have in your community, they have already helped some of your small businesses. They have already been an integral part in just the fundraising, in giving, in charity. They will continue to do that, whether it is through their business and what they do or through giving in your community. They are absolutely an asset to you guys. This right here, when he talks about artistic ability to be able to finish, to be able to do things, my husband has 4 of his tattoos, and we've only lived in the state of Mississippi for 8 years. He has done 6-hour sessions. He has done 2 or 3 hour sessions. He just finished one on his arm. It's still not complete because they had to be out before 8 o'clock. He has about another 4 or 5 hours to go just on the one arm piece. And it does take time for it to heal before he can go back and start doing other things. And then he has to go over where he was. So from a wife standpoint, I don't want him to be in any more pain, but we have to wait until he can come back in for the healing process to be over, and then he can get out of work in enough time to come down. So with all that being said, they are absolutely an asset to your community. I absolutely believe that they would do a world of good. They are God-fearing people with integrity. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Claire Agner. I live at 377 Shady Grove Drive. I own Commerce Street Market in Hernando, and I'm so thankful that I don't have hours restriction, and I would hate that for my friends, but a lot of y'all's wives, you come in my store, and it's a blessing to be able to be open whatever hours I want, and so I wish that for them, and I'm in support of them, and I hope y'all do grant their hours, because I do think for the people would be supporting small businesses and supporting them being open when they need to be open to serve their customers. Like myself, I have a 10-hour session, and then I do days, and it's so hard to get there when my store is open 6 to 8 o'clock at night, and if I get there after work, that doesn't even give me any time if I'm open till 8. So it would help their customers, and right now, I know earlier stated, but he actually is losing money if he's $150 an hour, and he needs to go till midnight. 150 times 4. Think about that every single day. And then a Saturday session, an hour, like a day session is like $1,500. So he's just been losing money when he could be open. And, you know, I just think they should be open whenever they like to be better for the people. But I'm for it.
So now, this is what I've heard a couple of people say about Saturdays. Now, you all can open on Saturdays.
Right, to our understanding, we weren't allowed to be open on
No.
Saturdays.
No.
So now that that's clear, I love that. I actually thought for sure we were closed Saturdays.
Well, that's what I think Claire and I talked about that, and I told you that you guys were allowed on Saturday.
So it wasn't when the meeting, when we went back and watched, it was Monday through Friday. It wasn't made clear. That was the confusion.
Might have been the first vote.
Yeah, the first vote was Monday through Friday, so that's what their knowledge was, and that's what we believed leaving that meeting as well.
That's why I've been looking.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't been booking Saturdays at all because they were in fear of getting in trouble with y'all.
Miscommunication. Yeah, that was a miscommunication. Yeah, you can do it any day of the week. Anybody else for or against this? That's something that maybe we hadn't heard?
Sorry. Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I was just, I'm here on behalf of Flea and Natasha Watts. As a artist myself, a photographer, I can totally understand how Flea feels when he has to stop mid-tattoo and then regroup. As like with editing my photos and things like that, I like to have a clean space to work, and I like to get a nice, good flow going, and when something does mess that up and I have to stop, when I sit back down in front of the computer, it's like, again, I have to reevaluate, where was I, what needs to be removed, what needs to be color changed, things like that. And also as a client who had to come back for a touch-up or color in after he had done the, thank you, after he had done the shading, I can tell you that hurt a lot, the coming back in and the reshading and things like that. So if they could have the extended hours, that would not only be great for them, but for their clients as well, who have small children and they have to wait till their husband gets home to be able to book. Thank you.
Jeremy Daniels, 10889 Carter Lane Cove, Daniels. So right now what you can see on my person is my clothes and my tattoo. However, what you don't see is my degree from Bethlehem University in criminal justice. You're also not seeing my state certification for law enforcement in the state of Mississippi, nor are you seeing my federal commissioning from the United States Department of Justice that I got in Glencoe, Georgia. You probably see me every day patrolling the streets of Hernando, which is why I'm here. Granted, I don't live in this wonderful city. However, I do serve it. I do patrol it. I do protect it. I understand there's a hyper stigmatized ideology on tattoo parlors. I get it. If you would take 5 or 10 minutes to meet this man back here, to talk with him, and then to spend hours with him, which I've done, then it would totally change your concept. I called Natasha and I had begged and pleaded for her to take my money to let me sit with him. However, it is almost impossible to do right now because of these time restraints. So I understand the hyper stigmatization on tattoo parlors. However, you've got to totally erase your train of thought because that is not what this is. He is a stand-up guy. Thank y'all.
Chelsea Ayers, 1631 West Point Drive in South Haven. I've known them for years. I'm really close to both of them, and I'm a mom, and my other half doesn't get home until like 6, 7 o'clock at night. And with that, it's kind of hard to book hours for a session for me to get my first tattoo. I'm about to turn 21 in the next couple of months. With just having that kind of time restraint, it's kind of hard just to be able to do what I need to do with him to be able to get a tattoo. I love them, and I really want them to be able to open more and have the availability that they need.
All right. So, do I have a motion on this item?
I make a motion to grant approval to Natasha Watts of a request for a conditional use to allow a studio with a floor area not exceeding 2,500 square feet to be used as a tattoo shop. The subject property is located on the north side of Monteith Avenue and east of Mackinville Road, more specifically 1576 Monteith Avenue, Section 17, Township 3, Range 7, based on the following 1 through 6.
Just to clarify on that motion, is that for the original conditions, but to delete the hours of operation?
Yeah, I was assuming there was no hours of operation. So that's essentially what they're asking for. Yes.
Do we need to include any of the other? I mean, this isn't changing any of the previous conditions?
Yeah, just to clarify for the minutes too, for everyone's sake, Saturday and Sunday, we specifically state 7 days a week, no hours of operation. Just to clarify, because there was a lot of confusion last time on that.
So 1 through 6, and then our 7th would be no hours of operation condition, and also to include Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in their hours of operation as well.
Have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Mack?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye. Motion to approve this item passed. The next item is
Everybody wants to stay.
It's just getting good. Where's everybody going?
All right, the next item is PL 1680, amendment to Hernando zoning ordinance. Ordinance regarding fuel pumps as an accessory use to a convenience store in various districts. Mr. Cardozo?
Yes, sir. As you mentioned, we've received several complaints from the board level and from the general public about the abundance of convenience stores that seem to be operating in all commercial zoning districts. And so to add additional layer of review, and so legally speaking, to help screen some of the associated effects on traffic, noise, and the general welfare of the community, the proposal is to move the convenience stores, the gas pumps as accessories to convenience stores, as it's currently listed in C1 district, to be also the same in C2 and C3. So right now in C1 neighborhood commercial, the pumps to a gas station, you have to have a conditional use for it. This proposal will do that into all commercial zoning districts. And so if you wanted to do a gas station in a commercial zoning district, you would need a conditional use for the pumps. And so the thought process would be just so we can have an additional layer of review on the stuff that we have coming.
So it's currently not in C2 and C3?
Currently, it's allowed by right.
By right.
So if it's currently zoned C2 and you meet the design regulations, it's allowed. But
Because I think it's what, three new ones going up in town right now.
there are, and we've had lots of concerned citizens ask about the noise and traffic. And we do have design elements to help eliminate some of that, but from the board level, an additional layer is something that's been recommended that we do. So I bring it to y'all just as some feedback, and if you want to move forward, I'll take it to the board of aldermen. But I'm looking for a recommendation on how to proceed.
pretty sure South Haven has something similar to this. They've enacted some measures. Seems like it's a super aggressive, all the properties being looked at for that use that
Is this an opportunity to recommend something similar to that? We had talked about, we've had plenty of discussions here about different commercial zones and what is based on the standard, what they have the right to do and what they don't have the right. But from a district standpoint, it's almost like that particular business doesn't fit that neighborhood. Specifically, the corner of 51 in Robinson, that corner, there was a lot of discussion around that one. Right, so it's zoned commercial, but from a district neighborhood, is there a sub-condition that we can put in a commercial zone related to those types of neighborhoods in the city? I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
Overlay districts, like historic districts, this would probably be the easiest way to add that level of review in commercial districts. And so if you think it's on an open highway, there are no concerns about traffic noise, then it should be approved.
Well, this ties into at the corner of Dilworth and Mackingvale, when they were wanting to put a C-store at the corner, and then the conditional use of the gas pumps. I remember we denied the gas pumps.
Yep, that was a C1 zone lot.
And then a few months later, they show up wanting to put a Dollar General there.
Yep.
So that's one of those, is there different commercial districts within our city that we can, let's control what gets, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but just, is there another way we can help
This right here.
prepare the aldermen on where growth is going?
I think from a policy standpoint, that's probably something we need to talk about in the comprehensive plan. What we think, where commercial's gonna go or not go. So when we get the comprehensive plan, the zoning ordinance is the physical representation of how we implement the plan. And so this C2 and C3, to your point about can we screen here or there, this would kind of help do that. If it has to come for a conditional use, and you feel like it's okay here but not here, the conditional use process would help screen some of that legal criteria.
That's all I'm saying, because we've been in pickles almost to where we're leaning on the edge of what's legal and what's not legal on what we agree should or should not happen based on the growth of the city, or trying to help control the growth. But then we're touching on what's legal and what's not legal. So we're just looking for more tools that we can use to help guide those reviews, especially to support the aldermen when they make the final decision.
And I think like if the gas station, do you think it would be okay if it had a different look of an entrance, or if the pumps, the number of pumps, where it's situated on the lot? I don't think we can control through the conditional use process. But our struggle as staff is, if any store comes in and meets the design regs and our subdivision regulations, then it's more just administrative process. And I think some of the concerns we've heard from the general public is they want that level of input on their neighborhood, what it looks like, and what goes in. That's kind of where we came from.
But, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but just tonight, when the commercial grocery warehouse come in asking for a variance, they've already done the work.
Yeah.
That irritated me. I mean, where's the accountability to say, hey, we're gonna go through this administrative variance application, but it's, they don't take it serious, that it's a serious process. They go out and spend the time and money and paint their yellow stripes, and then assuming that it's gonna get, and it's kind of irritating that there's no accountability on that end. I'm just venting, sorry.
If you'd like me to bring back South Haven's ordinance so we can maybe model it off of that, this is nothing to really rush, because I don't know if something really pending, but,
I just see it in other areas that people are taking additional measures like this is because it's.
in South Haven's, it's got theirs to where it's on an intersection, they have to be catty corner, they can't be on across the street locations, and there's several criteria, and I think this would just be the easiest way to implement the zoning ordinance to say, if there's an initial layer of review, it comes to the planning commission for approval.
Yeah, I like this step, and I think this is a good first step for sure.
Agreed.
Make a motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Make a motion to move to recommend to the Board of Aldermen the approval of the text amendment to the zoning ordinance, subject to staff comment.
Second?
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
Motion to approve this amendment passed. And like what Commissioner Thorne was talking about on these variances, you know, that forgiveness versus hardship, that doesn't, I mean, we could have had them repaint them white or whatever they needed to do, because you don't come asking for forgiveness. Oh, we, just like he said, they just, there let it go, we'll just do it, we do what we want to do.
And I'll be honest with you, being out there, and Austin, you might can say this too, the white is more visible, I think. That yellow is not very visible on that concrete.
Well, that,
That
you
was
know,
the
that's,
exact opposite of what they are.
I know that's a
Did you
different,
notice that, Austin, when you
Yes,
saw it?
and then once the concrete ages too,
it'll darken up, right? I mean, that's a different argument. The concern I have is you put in a variance to change the color of the stripes, but you've already changed the color of the stripes, so what's the point of putting, why even do it?
and that's the tough decision, honestly.
You know, that's basically disrespecting this commission or the city.
But sometimes things do get overlooked. Sometimes it's not an intentional, I mean, blatant, I'm not doing it.
I looked at
right?
it as private property where there's not public access to.
Yeah, I mean, it's so far removed from.
There's so many there's so many factors involved
It's
with
not
that.
visible at all, really. I mean, you gotta be going there. Yeah.
Had it been public property, where it was publicly accessible.
That is a public road that goes down to it.
But the public road is
It ends
appropriate,
though.
right?
You can't get back around the back, though, publicly.
Yeah, K-Pick, it stops
Okay.
on K-Pick and then goes to a private drive around the building. That was that little map.
But the public part of that is, it's striped appropriately, right?
Well, there
That's
is-
how I understand it.
Basically, where K-Pick is, K-Pick Drive, that code you saw, is a public road. And so all the parking internal is off of a private drive, but it's all yellow.
So the parking for the docks and everything is right there at the end of Capic.
Yeah, it's yellow.
Yeah, all of that's yellow. Their bollards are bright yellow, their lamp posts are bright yellow.
We're the only ones that care.
I mean, we've talked about making adjustments to that ordinance, especially bollard color, I think, haven't we?
Hideous.
White
It's
bollards.
Horrible looking.
What, yellow bollards?
Are horrible looking.
What other color would you paint them?
Kind of like
Earth tone.
compel, you know, I know it's hard to switch on the fly like that, but when they presented the building, you know, the metal facade, that was like a go. They wanted to that was their decision. And then the hardy planker, that's a consideration, but I don't think they priced it, so I don't know if that's all it shake out to be. It's hard to kind of do it on the fly.
I know they kept driving the economic hardship and that, I mean, I get it. but
That's a blatant
That's exactly what they're asking for.
Yeah,
violation of the
wasn't-
criteria.
If it wasn't a church, it would have been such an easy, it's very hard. Stand between, you know, it is hard.
The First Baptist Church had legitimate grounds.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.